This episode of the Stardom Cast is sponsored by Puro TV, your one-stop shop for all your Puro DVD needs. From Stardom to New Japan, from All Japan to Ice Ribbon, as well as incredible box sets documenting the best matches of your favourite Japanese wrestling icons, Puro TV has it covered with new items added every week. And now, as a special gift to listeners of the Stardom Cast, Puro TV are offering 10% off. Simply go to puro-tv.com, use the promo code StardomCast at checkout and get 10% off your entire order. Once again, that's the code StardomCast to receive 10% off your entire order. The link to their website is in the podcast description. And now, on with the episode.
Hey, this is Kevin Kelly. Get ready for the latest episode of the Stardom Cast.
Hello guys, and welcome to the Stardom Cast, your weekly audio source of all things World Wonder Ring Stardom. I'm your host, Rob Gooden, and I'm joined as ever by Matt Turner. Matt, how are you, good sir?
Mr. Rob Gooden, always a pleasure talking to you. I'm fantastic. How's everything with you? I know you're about week number 2 and a job number 2. Do they still like you over there, or what's going on?
Well, they keep bringing me back, so I assume that either they like me or they're just sort of humouring me until they can get rid of me. I'm hoping it's the former, but who knows at this point. They were very, very accommodating when I had to go and get some dental work done yesterday, so that's been the height of excitement for my week this week, is having holes drilled into my teeth.
Well, that sounds fantastic. But maybe it's a little bit of column A, a little bit from column B, buddy. Maybe it's a little bit of both of those. So maybe they, and maybe they're just being nice. Who knows?
They are all lovely. In fairness to them, they're very patient and very, very kind. How about you? How's your week been over there in the States?
Well, to be honest, this week we started off on a little bit of a downer. Very, very early Monday morning, poor Lily, her dog passed away. So it was tough. Yeah, it's the dog that. So she, and I probably mentioned on the show before to you, kind of just in texting, but most of the weekends for the past 12 years she spends over her mom's, and she had this dog for about the past 4 or 5 years, and the dog always, stays in the room with her when she's there. When Lily is not there, she sleeps on Lily's bed, just waiting for her. Whenever Lily gets into the house, she's eagerly waiting at the door, waiting for her. So her mom sent me a text message around 3:00 on Monday morning saying, hey, let Lily know Button's passed away. So I got about an hour earlier, went to the gym, which literally, I don't even remember what I did at the gym. It was an absolute garbage workout because I was just thinking, how am I going to tell this poor kid that her dog passed away? So I was like, well, may as well leave and kind of just, rip the Band-Aid off. And it was one of the hardest things in my 40 years on this planet I had to do, is to tell her that her dog passed away. It was just instant heartbreak. So I just felt really bad for her. But I guess it just goes to show you, my friend, it's why we got to, treat every day as a gift, my friend. That's why I live the life that I live and try to be as positive as possible, because, every minute, every hour, every day we get as a gift. So that was a little, it was tough, a little tough, but I'm really looking forward to this show this week, and I'm back into the ring this weekend. So on a positive spin, there's some really cool things coming up at the end of the week.
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing, isn't it? The bond you build with an animal. I know that when I was teaching loads of kids, we'd watch a film or something, and we did a unit on gothic horror, and they weren't bothered at all if a human died in this film or got mutilated or got attacked. But the moment there was even a semblance of the animal being harmed, they were in bits. They could not handle it. And it's weird, isn't it? We have such a beautiful bond with animals, and God knows what I'm going to be like when Fred and George pass away. I am going to be in absolute bits. I think I'm going to have to take a secondment from the podcast just to recover, because yeah, they bring a lot of joy. So my heart does go out to Lily because I can perfectly understand how she's feeling right now. But in ring return, I thought you'd already had a match at this point, Matt.
Oh, and I have. I'm just saying I'm back in the
Oh,
ring, like
right,
back
okay.
from the previous. Yeah, that's all.
I did see the graphic for this, actually. It looks very, very cool, whoever's done it. What promotion is this for?
It used to be Backbreakers Entertainment, but the old promoter sold, not old, he's actually younger than me. He sold everything off to this other guy. They used to do jobs for like the Road Warriors and the Bushwhackers in the 90s. So you'd always hear like these horror stories. This guy just getting his ass kicked. This guy's like 6'4", 300 pounds. But anywho, I forget what the name of it. And this is terrible. I really should know the name of this promotion because I'm going to plug it at the end of the show. So I have to look it up. But it's the same venue. It's pretty much the same license that was run by Backbreakers Entertainment. It's the place in Mayfield, Pennsylvania, which I know when I wrestled there a few weeks ago, there were some of our listeners saying they don't live too far away from there and they were contemplating going. So if anybody is going to go, by all means, stop at my merchandise table and I will definitely give you a free Stardom cast sticker as I have a whole bunch of the Julia ones and the Kyrie ones just came in, and then the Stardom Freedom ones actually I think should be in today. So, yeah, I'll plug it at the end of the show, but it's basically back at the Falcon's Nest in Mayfield, Pennsylvania, and they do have a full bar, so that hey, that doesn't hurt either.
I mean, any place with a full bar is a good place in my eyes. I mean, free bar, I'm there, and you'll find this out when we do eventually meet in person, Matt.
I'm excited for it, considering the fact I think I owe you 10 beers on these crazy side bets that I have. So
I feel like you do load them against yourself. Like, I feel like you are one of those people that deliberately loads it, so they're like, couldn't get them apart. I feel like you're a person who enjoys giving.
Yeah, and I have personal friends of mine that listen to the podcast, and they're probably literally laughing and shaking their heads because when you go to a bar with me, I walk in to the bar and I literally take my credit card and I'm like Gambit from the X-Men. I just fire it like at the bartender. I'll tell you a quick story and then we can get into the podcast. It was either Memorial Day or 4th of July holiday. It was one of the American holidays we have over here where Amber and I, it was almost on like a last second whim. We drove the hour for me to go back home to where my parents are. They took us out for dinner and then I'm like, yeah, we'll go to the bar that we always go to in Old Forge, Dooley's. And I text a couple of my friends. I'm like, hey, I'm going to be in just for the night. Why don't we come in and have a drink? Well, all of a sudden they text a couple of their friends and it becomes this whole brouhaha. And there's like 10 of us from my friends from high school that show up at this bar literally like this last minute. I'm like, yo, tabs open. So now the bars in Pennsylvania, last call is 2:00. 2 a.m. is last call. A lot of the bars will do last call around like 1:30, 1:45, just so they can clean up and get out of there at a halfway decent time. So we fully know once like the old squad's back together, Rob, that like we're going to be closing this thing down. Well, the bartender comes up to my wife and she goes, are you Amber? She's like, yeah, how do you know? He goes, I've known your husband a very long time. I just want to let you know his bar tab right now is at $250.
Jeez Louise.
Do you want to close this out? And she's like, absolutely. Put a $60 tip in. Give me his card back. I will sign for it. Now, again, Rob, we usually close the bar 1:30, 2:00. This was 9:30.
Oh my God.
This was 9:30. My wife she understands I'm having a good time, so she didn't want to, get the heat on her. And she was like, I know you're having a good time. Here's your card. Your bar tab was over $250. I gave the girls a $60 tip to split between them. You're done. She's like, you can have a water and that's it, but you're done. You're coming home. And I was like, no problem. And that was the end of it. I'm like, I'm going to be in so much trouble tomorrow. And she didn't say anything. She's like, yeah, he's having a good time. But the bartender was smart enough to be like, yeah, I've seen your husband in here before he was married. He's going to probably get this thing up to double what it is. So, and again, I have personal friends of mine that are shaking their head. Like, yeah, I was there for that one. So, so that's what you have to look forward to, good sir, when me and you finally have the Stardom cast meet and greet.
Well, I'm glad that you mentioned the fact that it was at 9:30 because all of the bars around where I live, because I'm outside of like any big cities really. I'm not far away from the nearest one, but yeah, you can't get there without driving. And all of the bars around me call last orders at 11, half 11, and then midnight over the weekend. So while you were talking about some people doing last orders at 2, I've never felt less cool than when I'm finishing off my beer at 11:45 because it's last orders. So I'm glad you get your business done nice and early, Matt, so that we can so that we can get home and go to bed at a decent time.
So we can get up and watch him Stardom.
Why not? Why not? Speaking of Stardom, Matt, what is coming up on the Patreon this week?
This past week, we released Momo Watanabe's 2021 5-star run. Absolutely had a ball doing that. So that is up on the Patreon. This past Monday, I did alternate commentary to Momo Watanabe versus Mayu Iwatani. Say that 5 times fast. From the 2018 5-star Grand Prix. And as I mentioned last week, and when I started off doing that episode, it's probably the only Mayu versus Momo match, singles match, I've never seen. And to my shock, Rob, the match was fantastic. Who would have thought Mayu versus Momo would have had a fantastic match? But those are the two up on the Patreon. Coming up later at the end of the month, Momo's 2018 Cinderella win. We're going to be going and reviewing that. And then this upcoming Monday, myself and you, good sir, will be doing alternate commentary to a match that you chose. Momo Watanabe and Utami Hayashishita taking on the Tokyo Cyber Squad duo of Jungle Kiona and Konami. And I believe that match, correct me if I'm wrong, is that for the Goddess belts?
It is indeed. It is indeed one of the highest rated Stardom matches on Cage Match.
Ooh, I'm trying to think because I was thinking about this morning. It's like, I wonder if I've seen that match before. And I'm excited that it is one of the highest rated matches on Cage Match, considering the fact that there's been 2 or 3 decent Stardom matches in the 12-year history from the company. So I'm excited to watch that one and call that one of my fans. Obviously, huge fan of Momo and Utami, especially Queen's Quest Momo, as I'm sure everybody knows. I like Queen's Quest just a little bit. Obviously, huge fan of Konami, and Jungle Kiona, I think, is probably the most underrated wrestler in the history of Stardom. So, I'm looking forward to that. And then coming up next month in April is going to be Insane April. And next week, Rob and myself will be giving the 4 matches that we're going to be doing for the alternate commentary. So I told Rob he's got a week to figure out. I'll pick 2 matches and he'll pick 2 matches. So I told him he's got a week to pick the 2 matches. Now, Rob, I'm going to tell you right now, there's a certain match I'm definitely going to pick. So don't pick it. It's a certain tag match. I rant and rave all the time on this podcast.
Yes, I know.
And for you playing along at home or like not sure what I'm talking about, I'm not going to give it away 100%. But it's Kairi teaming with a person. Her name rhymes with Beiko Matamoro, and they take on the greatest female tag team of all time. The name of the tag team rhymes with Blunder Block. So figure that out on your own. So I'm just letting you know I am 110% picking that match. And but yeah, next week we'll unveil the 4 matches that we'll be doing for Insane April. And also sometime, we've been talking about it for a few weeks. We just need to find the time. Rob and I will be doing a little mini bonus episode talking about the new Patreon that'll be dropping in May. I know Rob text me a whole bunch of images that he made up and schedules and everything, and we pretty much have it all narrowed down, pretty much all nailed down of what we're going to do in May. And to say that I'm excited about it is an understatement. I know, Rob, you're really pumped for it. And even some of our Patreon listeners, they already want to subscribe to the $10 tier. And I'm like, I'm not 100% sure what it is. It doesn't start till May. Appreciate it, but we'll let you know when you can subscribe. So it's just awesome. All the great stuff that we're doing on the Patreon and the Stardom Cast and all the support we get. It really still just on a daily basis. We literally text on a daily basis like how much this podcast has grown. Just kind of, it's almost like a fever dream. It really just blows my mind.
Yeah, absolutely. The support we get is incredible. Anyone that listens, or anyone that subscribes, or anyone on the Discord, or anyone who buys merchandise, you're all fantastic. And again, I think I say this either at the end of every podcast or during every podcast, where I get a little bit real with you guys when I want to say it truly is humbling that anyone listens to us talk about Stardom. And comes back. Basically, it's a beautiful thing. So thank you very, very much to all of you. We have got lots and lots of things coming in the next 2-3 months, especially as we are now smack dab in the middle of March. And me and Matt were just saying before we came on air, we can't believe how quickly this year is going already. But obviously within insane April with the Cinderella tournament, and I'm going to talk a little bit about mine and Matt's bracketology episode, which is coming up next week. I've also got all the brackets done. Thank you, Stardom, for releasing a wonky bracket with 36 people, because do you know how hard it is, Matt, to do a bracket that is like symmetrical with 36 bloody people? Bloody impossible.
I do not say that. That's why I left it up to you. And I thanked you yesterday. I'll thank you today. I'll thank you tomorrow. And I'll thank you next week, because I have no idea how to do any of that, sir. And you are a genius, a gentleman, and a scholar, sure. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart, because other than drawing on a piece of paper and taking a picture and was like, all right, everybody, who do you got? I don't know how to do it with stick figures, no clue.
No, honestly, it was possibly the most frustrating thing I've ever done, especially as some people have round 2 matches, some people don't, some people win 1 match and then get through to the quarterfinals. It was a time, let's just say it that way. But it's done now. They will be up at the latest over the weekend. I've just got to sort out a couple of things. At the moment, it's an Excel document. I just need to work out how we're going to sort of collate responses and things like that. But that'll go up. And then obviously we've got our Patreon competition, which we'll talk a little bit about on next week's episode as well, where I believe, Matt, you have prizes that people can win.
Yeah, real quick, the prizes will be if you just get the overall winner right, you get a Stardom Cast sticker and an autographed business card from me. If you get the 2 finalists right and the final winner, you'll get what I just mentioned, and you'll get to pick any T-shirt off our merchandise page, or you can get one of Rob's books that have been released, or one of his 84 books that will be released in the next 12 months. If you get the 4 people in the semifinals, the 2 people in the finals, and the overall winner right, you get everything I just mentioned, and you'll get a small sketch of your favorite Stardom wrestler from my favorite daughter, Lily, which is my only daughter. But you got to put on a pedestal, Rob. You got to add value. So if you are a Patreon member, you are automatically in. And if you're not a Patreon member and you're thinking about becoming a Patreon member, or you have a good idea who you think's going to win the Cinderella tournament, any tier gets you in. So you can just do it just for $1.
And plus as well, I feel like anyone that enters early and gets anything correct, when we still don't know who 2 of the competitors are that are going to be taking part in this tournament.
They did mention one at the show, I believe, on Sunday. I know it's not up yet, but they did mention it.
Oh, well,
it was the YouTuber Fua Chan.
Oh, is she going to be in the Cinderella?
Yeah, she's going to be in the Cinderella, and I'm assuming she's X. Since we're talking about what the heck, I'm assuming she's X, and I'm thinking XX is going to be announced after Ruaka wins her match at New Blood Premium, and she joins DX, and they changed the 1X to D, so it's going to be Ruaka DX. So this is my far out prediction for now. I have even a crazier prediction later on, but that's crazy prediction number 1 for this show.
I do love the idea of, I believe it's Lady C. No, is it Hina? Hina's taking on 1X, and I think Lady C is taking on double X. And I've just got this lovely lovely image in my head of the lights going down. Everyone's sort of like, oh, who's coming out? Who's coming out? Break it down. Whether that happens or not, obviously, you'll have to wait and see. Though I must admit, Steve did make me laugh on our Patreon, where he said, where's Saya Kamitani when you need her? She had 1 job, in reference to her lack of ability to keep a secret. So that really did tickle me. Really did tickle me, Steve. We've got some news then coming up out of the world of Stardom this week. So first of all, obviously last week we had our review of the best ever Triangle Derby tournament, and the final of that tournament on the 4th of March. And we've had some really good feedback for that episode, and obviously we went a long time, and we can only apologize to those of you that didn't enjoy listening to us for 2.5 hours. But Dave Meltzer has released his star ratings for that show. And they are as follows. The tournament final between God's Eye and Prominence received 4 stars. The Julia and Mai Yukihi double countout got a 4.5 stars. Azumi and Starlight Kid for the High Speed Championship got 4 3/4 stars. And then Saya Kamitani and Hazuki got 4 3/4 stars as well. Now, I know there'll be some people who are like, oh, well, why? How come it didn't get 5 stars? I can't believe that didn't get 4.5. My personal rating is that the Hazuki and Saya Kamitani match was 5 stars, but for the sake of a 1/4 star, I'm not quibbling. And, we say it all the time. Wrestling, one of the beautiful things about wrestling is that it is subjective, something that I like, Matt might not like, even though Matt likes everything. We all like different things. And the fact that 2 of those matches have been rated as highly as they have is excellent. And it's everything about this is more exposure for Stardom. And I feel like that is more important than the rating of any singular match, Matt.
Yeah, 1,000%. I mean, we talk about it here almost anytime there's a pay-per-view and Dave watches the top 4 or 5 matches. You can say what you want to about him, but he is the, he's the most respected journalist in the history of pro wrestling. Again, I've said this at least 100 times on this podcast. I'll say it 100 more. Terry Funk said he's the greatest worker of all time because he's been able to feed himself and his family for 30 plus years without taking a bump. Again, who would argue with Terry Funk? So, yeah, the fact that, you look at, I think me and you, a lot of those ratings were pretty close on what we gave. I had Hazuki and Saya Kamitani breaking the star rating, but I think if Dave, and obviously he's just crazy, crazy busy. I think if you would have watched like the matches leading up to the Hazuki Saya Kamitani match and the 5-star match and all the interweaving little storylines that just added so much to that match, he would have given it 5 stars. I think he just kind of just watched the match just in a bubble. But the fact you have 2 4 3/4 stars match, and then you have a 4.5 star match, those are some really, really darn good ratings. And then the final was, he had it at 4 stars, which I think me and you were like around 4 4.25. So when you have 4 matches at 4 stars plus, that rated by the most respected journalist in the history of pro wrestling, and he created the star rating. Wasn't anybody else. It's his star rating. So, yeah, again, more and more, not only exposure, but positive exposure for the wrestling company that we enjoy so much here, Mr. Rob Goodwin.
Absolutely. And again, you look at that run of last 4 matches. 4 3/4 stars, 4 3/4 stars, 4.5 stars, 4 stars. That is an excellent closing 4 matches. And we said it while we were reviewing it. It's one of the best sort of run of final matches in a pay-per-view that Stardom have ever done. And again, I think you're absolutely right. It's possibly one of the drawbacks of watching as much wrestling as an analyst such as Dave Meltzer does. The fact that due to the sheer volume of wrestling and MMA that he covers, he's not going to be able to watch all of the contextual matches leading up to every single match. It's not feasible. It's not possible. There's too much wrestling in the world. There's only 24 hours in a day. But the fact that match was able to glean 4 3/4 without any sort of context, I think stands as just how good this match was. The same for Azumi and Starlight Kid, which just on that note, he did give this one a higher rating than their match at the Cinderella Journey in Nagaoka last year. So it's worth noting that he did believe this was better. I think we both agreed that even though the Cinderella Journey in Nagaoka match was fantastic, a blinding match, I preferred this one but it literally depends on the day. I could prefer the 2022 one day. I could prefer the 2023 one the very next day. It depends. But yes, anyway, Meltzer has covered Stardom and he has given those ratings for the matches. We'd love to hear what you think about those ratings, whether you think that they're fair, whether you think that Dave he's had a nightmare. Whatever you think, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, real quick before that, you said the next thing, Rob, I just want to interject. You just said that, Dave Meltzer is so busy, he's not watching every single Stardom show. But I know 2 handsome gentlemen that are. That's me and you. And we'll cover it every week here on the Stardom Cast.
So, Dave, if you're listening, which 100% he isn't, but Dave, if you're out there and listening, if you want to listen, that's absolutely fine. We'll give you the scoops. We'll give you that context. That's absolutely fine. So, a couple of good things coming out of Japan. Weirdly, coming from the Dragon Gate English Twitter account, government policies have made mask wearing optional. So whilst we have cheering now in certain venues for certain shows, mask wearing was still enforced. Whereas now, from what I'm led to believe, and I could be getting this wrong, if I am, please let me know. But from what I'm led to believe, mask wearing will be made optional. The Dragon Gate tweet, which is a really good Twitter account to follow, even though I don't watch as much Dragon Gate as I'd like to, says this: with recent government policies making mask wearing optional, the same policy will be applied to Dragon Gate live events beginning on the 18th of the 3rd in Wakayama. We would appreciate it if our guests be mindful of those around them and still consider wearing masks while engaging in loud cheering, but it will not be compulsory, and the final decision is up to you. When you couple this with the announcement that for Mayu Iwatani's return show in Yamaguchi, they have announced that there's going to be a one-off return of streamers for Mayu's match. Things are slowly but surely, the bringing in of cheering crowds again for certain shows, as I mentioned earlier. I mean, we're going to talk about it today at that Korakuen show. I felt, even though it wasn't as big a Korakuen attendance as Stardom has been pulling in recently, the crowd was absolutely electric for absolutely everything. It feels slowly but surely that the wrestling landscape is getting back to normal after the global pandemic, and good God, does it feel good to start saying that. I mean, first cheering crowds, now masks are, they aren't compulsory. You haven't got to wear them. And now streamers are coming back, making a one-time appearance, admittedly. But, start with little baby steps. But it does feel like, Matt, slowly but surely we're starting to see far more light at the end of the tunnel than we were.
Yeah, it's been a long, rough 3 years. But yeah, I mean, we've had the cheering crowds kind of teased to be a little bit with other Japanese wrestling companies like, New Japan with the bigger dome shows, and Noah with the Yokohama shows. And then we finally got it about 5-6 weeks ago at the Nagoya show, the Supreme fight. And then it just seemed like these Korakuen shows, I think this was the second or third with cheering, and just because it's a smaller venue and the acoustics are better, it's like you can just, even when you go back and watch the Stardom shows from 15, 16, 17, 18 in the first half and 2019, it's just like those crowds are so into those Korakuen shows. And it just seems like since the cheering has been back in Stardom, those Korakuen shows just makes it so much better. And I know that they did, and we're going to talk about in a moment, they did just under 1,000. But like, if you listen to that crowd, it feels like it's a sold out show. I mean, it really, really does. But now with the mask thing being optional, and Mayu is going to be getting streamers thrown at her, I know you said it's a one-time thing, but hopefully it's something that gets such a reaction that Stardom's just like, you know what, just let them throw the streamers every show. Like, it's just something that adds value so much to professional wrestling. I'm a huge fan of the streamers. When I first saw it in All Japan in the 90s, and when they started doing that Ring of Honor, and even me wrestling as long as I have, whenever I get streamers thrown at me, it's just a huge, like, man, that's so cool, because it's just like the Japanese culture. So yeah, it's gonna be exciting. It's gonna be exciting when they throw streamers at Mayu, and just to see if she trips in the streamers or not. So a whole bunch of really cool stuff to watch out for. But yeah, a lot of thumbs up, a lot of stuff in the positive for pro wrestling moving forward.
Absolutely, everything's trending upwards, isn't it? And you say starts with one streamer, every avalanche starts with a pebble, doesn't it? So we're getting there, people. We're getting there. Himeka has extended the retirement road. It's been announced that she wants to work with Pro Wrestling Wave, which unfortunately I am not well versed in at all. So unfortunately, I won't be able to give you lots and lots of insight into the promotion or anything like that. I'm sure there are far better analysts and critics who will be able to do that, but it's not me, unfortunately. However, the We Are Stardom Twitter account has announced that Himeka wanted to work with Pro Wrestling Wave, and the only opportunity to do that was April 28th, 5 days after her retirement match versus Maika. She asked Maika what she thought, and Maika told her to do everything that her heart desires. So her official retirement match remains, the 23rd of April at the Yokohama Arena against Maika. However, on the 28th of April, there is going to be a special spin-off match at a show called Jumbo Forever Wave and Bushi Road Fight, and that's going to be from Shinjuku Face. Obviously, the more news we get about that, and the more news we get about the match that Himeka is going to be a part of. Obviously, she did tease something with the Golden Generation of Stardom. Whether that's something that they bring into that show, I don't know. But obviously, as soon as we know something, we will tell you on here. But it's something to look forward to, and it's just one more chance to see the Jumbo Princess in the ring, Matt.
Yeah, now if you're not going to say it, I'm going to say it. In the spirit of Keiji Muto. No, I'm just kidding.
Stop 3,825 on the Jumbo Princess retirement road.
And I'll say this. I mean, she did say when she was announced her retirement, like, hey, I'm going to retire. It's going to be on this date. And then they're going to, on the Yokohama show and at Korakuen Hall, I believe in May, they're going to give her, the kind of a final send off. And she did say, she's like, I'm not going to half ass it. And, boy, we're watching these Himeka matches. Boy, she's not, and they're giving her some really awesome matches. And by no means is she's going out on her shield. There's no doubt about that. But yeah, I mean, exactly. Let's look at the positive in this. As much as nobody wants to see her go, at the same time, she's leaving on her own terms. And yeah, she's just kind of getting like a bonus. Almost a bonus add-on. And I like the fact that she asked Maika, like, hey, I promise you my last match. What do you think? And of course, Maika was going to say yes. But there's something that tells me that Maika was like, you know what? I really would like to have this last match with you. I think Himeka has so much respect for Maika that she would have turned down the Pro Wrestling Wave thing. Obviously, nobody thought that she would say no. But that just shows you just how close the two of those are and how excited I am for that match in Yokohama for the two of them just to, beat the bejesus out of each other.
It's going to be pretty special, that match, on an emotional level, but also obviously on a physical level as well. I mean, I was going to say I don't really understand Himeka's relationship with Pro Wrestling Wave. I know she's wrestled there, and I've just done a very, very quick bit of research, and she wrestled there in 2018, 2019, and then a handful of matches in 2020 as well. So obviously she's got roots there. That's, it's her retirement road. She can take it where she goes. From a purely selfish standpoint, I would have loved that final match to be against a stablemate, but ultimately, like I said, this is her road. So let's just enjoy it for what it is. I'm sure that this show is going to be fantastic, whatever match Himeka is a part of. And Matt, you've already mentioned the name, so we might as well talk about it here. The YouTuber Fua will be competing at Yokohama Arena, and as you've just told me, she's going to be competing in the Cinderella tournament as well. Now, a couple of good things, one bad thing that comes out of this. Okay, let's start with the good things. Okay, the good things, Fua is a big celebrity on YouTube. She's bound to draw more eyes towards Stardom. The bad thing, for me anyway, and I imagine quite a lot of people who tried to watch the Korakuen show on Stardom World, her being on the show led to so much of that show being cut to the point where one of the matches just isn't on Stardom World, which is ridiculous. But there we are. Matt, how are you feeling about Fua competing at Yokohama? How are you feeling about her taking part in the Cinderella tournament against either Hina or Lady C, depending on whether she's X or double X? What are your general thoughts about this?
I didn't know anything because of her that they had to take something off on Stardom World. So that's a thumbs down, a bummer. But let's swing it to the positive side because that's what we do. She looked really, really good in that one match that she had. And again, she's a big celebrity in Japan. So that's going to put a lot of eyes on the Stardom product for her matches in the Cinderella tournament. I did not know she was competing at the Yokohama show. That's very smart. another reason to pack that building and have more people watching Stardom. I guess very similar to the vein of having like a Logan Paul on these big shows who's only wrestled a handful of matches in WWE, and he's very, very talented. He's going to be at WrestleMania wrestling one of the best wrestlers on the roster, Seth Rollins. So it's very, you get somebody that's got talent, that's got a name to him, and then has athleticism, and is going to bring outside eyeballs to the product that you're trying to grow. It can only just be positive things. And Stardom has such a loaded roster, and the booking is really, really smart that they're not going to be putting her in the ring with anybody that she's going to have a stinker with.
No, absolutely not. And the good thing about the Cinderella tournament is the matches are short. So, the natural length of a Cinderella match doesn't need to be anything over. I mean, we've had matches go 17 seconds before, though I don't really perceive this match going 17 seconds. But, I feel like the positives are only going to outweigh any sort of negatives. And the gripes I have mainly to do with the Korakuen show are not to do with Fua. So, yeah, we'll move on anyway. I think that her being at the Yokohama show is good. And whether she's in a singles match, whether she is in a tag match with maybe Hazuki, obviously I know she's been training with Hazuki, or whether they do some manner of Stardom Rumble again, and she's part of that. I imagine if you've got a talent like that who can bring eyes in, I feel like it would be a waste to put her in some sort of pre-show Rumble, as I imagine the pre-show, as quite a lot of Stardom pay-per-views are now, the pre-show is on YouTube. Do you feel like she has to be on the main card, or do you feel like, we've got her on the show, doesn't matter, just throw her in this Rumble, Matt?
I guess you can do either or, but I think they should do a Stardom Rumble just to get everybody on the roster as a thank you for all of your hard work, whether you've been here 6 months or 6 years. I think they should do, and those Rumbles can be kind of fun, especially if we get some legends back in. If we get a Yoko Bito or a Yuzuki Ayakawa, I will pop huge. But I mean, maybe if they put her in like a match where it's like Hana and Hina and Lady C and her versus like Saida, Momo Kogo, and like maybe somebody else. And they give it like 6 or 7 minutes, and maybe you finally give Saeed a big win on this big show or something like that. I think you can do either or. I don't think there's really any really wrong answer as long as you put her in a good light. But I can see the YouTube thing, because obviously it would be free, and there's YouTube is easier to access than some of these pay-per-view things, which it's literally once the buy for the pay-per-view comes up 48 hours for, I have to click on the link, put my username, password in, make sure that pay for it, hit the translate thing, make sure I got the English. I mean, it's a pain to get these pay-per-views. It's a good thing these pay-per-views are so damn good. But yeah, it'd be a lot easier to go on YouTube. But I think either or. I mean, I know that's a kind of a cop-out answer, but I could see it kind of going either way. But I think if you're going to pigeonhole me an answer, I think she's going to have an actual match, like either a 6-person or an 8-person match.
She seems to be aligning with Stars. So, and the reason that the Stars versus Donna Del Mondo match got cut from Stardom World is because Fua was out there. I don't know if it's Fua or Fua, but I imagine whichever way I say, I'm going to say it wrong. So, but because she was seconding the Stars team, and because she was apparently just merely present at that match, it meant that she could not be shown. So, I don't know what sort of weird ass contract it was, or sort of television rights deal or whatever is sort of stopping that, but there we are. Let's go straight into this Korakuen Hall show then that we've been talking about. This was back on Friday the 10th of March 2023 from Korakuen Hall in Tokyo in front of 904 people. And Matt, you've already said it. My first note is only a crowd of 904 tonight, though the way they make their voices heard throughout would make you think it is double that inside the venue. And I've also just put as an additional note, it's so amazing to have cheering crowds back. And, we've gone for years and years and years and years and years and just sort of taking that for granted, that support for granted. And I think now it's back. You just, oh my God, I miss this so much. And no disrespect to the Future of Stardom belt or the Goddess of Stardom tag belts. The crowds were hot for belts that fairly low down the card. There was no red belt match, no white belt match. The bigger stars were in sort of multi-woman tag matches, but they were so loud for the future of Stardom belt, and they were molten for that main event, and for Ruaka especially, who I thought was MVP of these two shows. I can't get over how much live crowds add to a match and to a show, man.
Yeah, I mean, it really adds to it. It gives you that extra energy. It really gives you that extra, sense of adrenaline and realizing what you're doing is right. Or if they're not reacting, you're reacting in a negative way, maybe take it a different, a different route. So this way you can kind of make the match and the storyline better. But yeah, these crowds, it's just every Korakuen show. Like, I was shocked when I read the number, it's only 900 people. Because the entrances were cut. So sometimes, you kind of have that legendary Korakuen Hall entrance where you can kind of see how packed the place is. And the way it was shot and the way that it was, the way the crowd was, I'm like, there's got to be at least 1,100 people here. And I was like, well, as per usual, I'm wrong. So, it's nothing I'm not used to, But, yeah, I mean, again, on a show that really just had two of the, no white belt match, no red belt match, no Azumi defending the high-speed championship. It's kind of just, number one contenders match, a future match, a goddess match, and then some really good tag matches. Over 900 people with the volume from start to finish. Just shows you there's a lot of people that are invested in Stardom. And I'm real excited when they run this venue on a bigger show, like a 5-star. And I'm sure probably somewhere in the Cinderella tournament as well, they're probably running Korakuen Hall like they usually do. That I can see this number being 1,200, 1,300, and that many people for a bigger show with bigger stakes on the line. This building is going to be rocking, and it's exciting. It's going to be exciting.
Absolutely. So this show itself was solid, really, really good. There were some fantastic matches, as I've already mentioned. This main event, it didn't take me by surprise because I know what 7up are capable of, and obviously BMI 2000 have improved massively, and Ruaka teaming with Tora as part of BMI 2000 throughout the tag league last year really improved. So I thought that was really good. The Future of Stardom match was really, really good. However, and this is something that we keep circling back to when it comes to Stardom World, we had an upload with no entrances, with promos missing, with a match cut, which I understand is absolutely nothing Stardom can do about that, so I'm not having that against them.
Rob, to interject real quick, what was the match that was cut?
The match that was cut was an 8-woman tag. It was Donna Del Mondo, Julia Micah Tekla, and Mai Sakurai taking on the Stars team of Mayu Iwatani, Hazuki Sayurida, and Hanan.
Oh, breaks my heart. Julia, I mean, everybody in that match is great. The fact that we'd be able to see Julia and Mayu in the ring together, especially Julia with the red belt now, because we saw that reversed. Oh, man. Well, maybe that'll be in the lore of like the Bret Hart Tom McGee match, where eventually, maybe 15 years down the road, they'll let it out of the vault.
Well, I know that the last time Phil wrestled, it took about 2 months, and then it sort of just popped up on Stardom World. So eventually we will get this mid-card 8-woman tag put onto Stardom World to complete the set. But even so, frustrating. But obviously I'm not going to hold that against Stardom because it's not their fault. But I don't really understand what cutting the entrances does. I know, especially when you've got a lot of Stardom shows to watch, a lot of people do skip them. And I will wholeheartedly put my hands up and say a lot of the time I skip the entrances. However, not in every match. And it does add to your... Like, for example, we had the Retirement Road match, Himika versus Natsupoi. I wanted to hear that reception for Himika. And we came into it just as they were being announced to the crowd. I don't really understand. Surely it is more effort to cut the entrances out than it is to just leave them in. So, and again, I'm not a video editor. I know that at the moment, I believe it is still one person doing all this, and I cannot begin to imagine the stress that that person is under, considering they had Stardom Run shows on the 10th, the 11th, the 12th, the 15th, the 18th. I think they've got one on the 21st, and then they've got the 2 pay-per-views. And then they've got Golden Week, which, is going to be absolute chaos. I mean, surely now, and we're flogging a dead horse somewhat, I know that, but there has to be a point where, I mean, you look at production values. Production values, in my opinion, have been upped. I think there has been a noticeable sort of upsurge in production values. The sets look great. The Trons look great. The music's great. But it's just this one glaring elephant in the room is that Stardom World is, as the wrestling is moving forward, Stardom World and the way they are uploading things and having to clip things and things like that is being slowly left further and further and further behind. We had the closing promo clipped in about 4 different places, and I can't really understand why. Surely that is more effort. And it does puzzle me how Stardom hopes to continue this growth that they've seen. Obviously, they consider themselves the second biggest promotion in Japan. It is for you guys in the ether to debate whether you think that is true. But Stardom believe that that is where they sit. I don't feel they can truly claim that until they have something that, is akin to a New Japan World or is akin to a Wrestle Universe. Because at the moment, Stardom World appears to be causing more problems than it's actually solving. And I know it's not expensive. I think I checked my bill actually, and obviously I'm in Britain. It's just over a £5. So what you're getting for your money is decent. It's just the upload schedule and the randomness of this Korakuen show really threw me for a loop, Matt. Am I just being a negative Nancy, or is this something that you noticed, or did it not affect you in the slightest?
No, I mean, we talk about it all the time. It's really the one big negative. I mean, we try to be as positive as possible, but at the same time, we have to be critical. It's the biggest negative Stardom has had in the last handful of years, and especially the fact that you're having one of the biggest stars in American wrestling in the last 7 or 8 years, male or female, coming into your company relatively soon, and you're going to get a lot of stateside eyes onto the Japan product. And, hey, we have, AEW is very easy, to watch. Obviously, WWE, that's what I'm referring to, former WWE superstar Sasha Banks, now Mercedes Moné. The production quality of the wrestling, especially the top 2 products that we have in America, is absolutely top notch. And then if you're going to get some of the AEW, WWE fans, they're like, I'm going to watch the show because I want to see Sasha Mercedes take on this Mayu lady that we've been hearing so much about. And then it's like, you've got to order the pay-per-view, you have to do all this other stuff, and you're like, no, I'm just gonna wait for it to come on, Stardom World, because it's just a little over $7. And then it's like, wait, what's this? I have to navigate this. What am I doing here? Forget it's not even worth it. You'll have that. But as far as the entrances go, you talked about a little bit ago. I actually like watching the entrances because I'd like to see the reaction that each individual is going to get, and if they're going to react with the crowd before they get into the ring. And I always say your matches don't start when the bell rings, and your matches don't end when the bell rings. It's what happens to curtain. From the second you come out and you cut the curtain, you can see, oh, that person's a star. And I've had so many people that I talk to almost on a daily basis that have come around to start watching Stardom just based on entrances from Julia. Like, oh, that's a star. That's a star. I'm like, wait till she gets in the ring. It gets even better. So it's like, I see your point where it's just like, yeah, because I know you have, we're all busy. We all have so much to do where it's like, if I'm going to cut out 2 or 3 minutes of this match and I can cut out the entrances, I need to get to the meat and the potatoes of the match. That I didn't understand. But for me, I like just watching the entrances, and the fact that you have, again, a legendary venue like Korakuen Hall where cheering is encouraged and is allowed. And if they're hot for the matches, they're going to be hot for the entrances as well. And I think we kind of got robbed of that on this show, which was a fantastic show. But yeah, they do. They really need to start taking some of the money that they've been making. And from what I understand, they're more profitable than New Japan was, over the last year plus. So it's like, why don't we start taking some of that money and start putting it towards the production? There's an old saying, in order for you to make money, you have to spend money. And so again, Stardom's making a lot of money for what their overhead is. And I think it's time that they have to up their production quality, especially on Stardom World, to get these shows up either live or literally that day.
Yeah, they've proved they can with the New Blood shows. And I know there's a narrative that certain venues aren't very accommodating of live streaming and don't have the right setup, and the connectivity is not great. But All Japan does it, Noah does it, New Japan does it, TJPW does it. So I feel like it's the next logical step. And the only thing I can think of in regard to the entrances is with Fua coming out and seconding Stars, I'm wondering if she was ringside for the rest of the show. And obviously when they're doing the big pan of Korakuen Hall, maybe the wrestlers are walking past her, in which case whoever it is has got to try and cut. I don't know why I keep saying whoever it is. We know it's Sonny. I don't know why I'm not saying his name. And whether he's had to cut round that, I don't know. And it's just easier to cut out the entrances. But even so, if it's more hassle than it's worth, have her go backstage after her bit. I don't understand. Anyway, that's my only negative out of the way, because as I've already alluded to, I thoroughly enjoyed this Korakuen Hall show. And we started with our opening Future of Stardom #1 contendership 3-way match. Rina defeating Hina and Miyu Amasaki with the jackknife pin in 5 minutes and 31 seconds. There was a really interesting dynamic in this match, even though it was 5.5 minutes. That the main alliance in this match was between the two sisters rather than between the Queen's Quest stablemates, because Hina and Rina spent a decent portion of this match teaming up to beat up Miyu Amasaki. Did you notice that? And it was a very weird dynamic, but it was a good match.
So it actually started out with the QQ duo beating up on Rina, and then it switched to the sisters. But I noticed, because this was a rematch from the pre-show of the pay-per-view, and I thought both of them were equally as good. But this one, they showcased Miyu a little bit more. I thought Miyu looked. I mean, I'm not saying she looked bad in the pay-per-view match, but I thought they did a really good job getting her strengths over in this match. And then Rina and Hina basically did their sprint finish, which I thought was really good. But yeah, 5 minutes. It was kind of weird with the team up with the sisters, and we've seen it before in the New Blood show. I think was it Hana and Hina teamed up, or maybe it was Hina and Rina. I forget which. There was a duo with the sisters teaming up. It was like the opening match on one of the New Blood shows, and I was like, I know they're in separate factions, but boy, somewhere down the line, I would like to see these two have a run at the Goddess belts. I guess sometimes blood is thicker than water, even if the water is being rested on the quest of Queen's Quest. So take that as it will. But overall, though, Rob, enjoyed this match. Really good way to start. Crowd was really into this. I actually gave it 3.25 stars.
Yeah, I gave it 3. Thought it was a decent opener. I think the right person definitely won. I think we both said during our preview that we assumed that Rina was going to win this, because she seems to be the next logical step in the Future of Stardom's sort of lineage. And I do thoroughly believe that she's going to take the belt from Amisori, especially once we get to that main event. I'm going to talk a little bit about that now. When we get to there. But overall, decent match, a good showcase for all of that talent. I think Miyu Amasaki, and I talked about this last week, when that injury did sort of rock her momentum somewhat. And I think the more she's wrestled, the better she's gotten, the smoother she's gotten. There was sequences during this match, especially when it came to her drop kicks, where she seemed far more comfortable. So, it's all trending upwards, as I said before. It's good to see. Match 2, a 3-way tag team match with the Oeretai team of Fukigen Death and Saki Kashima defeating the Rebel and Enemy team of Maika Rosaki and Ram Kai Chao, and the Stars team of Koguma and Momokogo, with Fukigen Death getting another roll-up victory over Momokogo with the O'Connor roll in 6 minutes and 56 seconds. Now, Matt, what is the best way to survive a bear attack?
I guess play dead. It's
to play dead.
That's what happened here. Or if you're a true old school wrestler, you wrestle them. Like Danny Hodge wrestling a bear, or true. Tracy Smothers wrestling a bear. I actually heard that story firsthand from Tracy. Another story. Maybe that'll be part of our Q&A when we do the. Can Matt tell the Tracy Smothers wrestling a bear story on our Patreon? But obviously they opted to go the other way and not borrow from the book of Tracy Smothers. They went and they played dead.
I did find that quite funny. I'm not going to lie. And it did sort of it added a new way people can deal with the Koguma shtick, which I quite enjoyed. Another roll up victory for Fukin Death, which again, Oedetai came out on top, so it's fine. I still don't really understand why Fukin Death's the one getting the roll up when you've literally got the number one contender for the high speed championship teaming with her, but it's a very small nitpick. Overall, I thought this was decent. I thought all 6 women had decent chemistry. Overall, a decent showing. I gave it 3 stars, Matt.
Yeah, 3.25, and I said it last week, and I'll say it again. I think it's in Fukin Death's contract that if she's in a multi-person match, she must win via O'Connor roll. So
absolutely, she's one of the most protected wrestlers on the roster at this point, I think. Match 3 was our first title match of the evening, with the future of Stardom Championship up for grabs. Amisori defending her belt successfully against Lady C with the like of Thunderbolt in 9 minutes and 19 seconds, achieving V3, who now adds, Lady C to the list of defenses that include previously Ruaka and Mei Sakurai. Now, Matt, very difficult question for you. Who, out of Amisori and Lady C, has the best chops?
ooh, the answer will be revealed when we do our next show. The answer is Saida. That's a great question because you knew these. Well, Lady C quickly tweeted out a picture of her chops just being chopped to hamburger, and Lady C gave it back just equally to Amisori. But that's a good question. Again, subjective. There's no wrong answer. I think Amisori has the better chops, not by much. But this was a brutal match with the blistering chops, the clotheslines, the big boots from Lady C, the submission. This was almost 10 minutes of nonstop action. Like I figured it was going to be good. Obviously, I'm very high on Lady C. I think Amisori is terrific. But this kind of exceeded even my expectations. As I was writing my notes down, I was I knew what the finish was as Amisori picked her up for the Like a Thunderbolt. I was getting ready to write 3.5 stars, but I bumped it up 1/4 star to 3 3/4 just on the dangerousness of that Like a Thunderbolt. Holy geez, Lady C is one of the tallest wrestler of the Stardom roster. And it was like, oh man, she dropped her. I mean, I went back and watched, and it was protected, but they did a good job of getting the illusion over of Lady C getting dropped right on her head. I mean, that thing was brutal. The way that Amisori does that, it's one of the most devastating finishes in all of Stardom. But yeah, kind of back and forth. They did a really good job building up towards the finish, and Ami did a really good job of building up Lady C, almost putting her away with the Cobra Clutch submission. And then that again, Amisori, she's no. She's one of the taller members of the Stardom roster, but she got up really big for Lady C on that choke slam. I mean, she almost hit her head at the top of Korakuen Hall. I mean, that was a really cool visual and a really great way to build towards the finish. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed this match.
Yeah, so did I. And I think you hit the nail on the head when you said about how good Lady C looked here. And it's a bit of a theme between the two championship matches that actually the losers came out looking a lot better than they did going in. I think Lady C's progress has been phenomenal. I don't think anyone really anticipated her winning this, but I think the account she gave of herself during this match was great. I think she pretty much matched Amisori step for step, and they both told a pretty compelling narrative, just beating the living hell out of each other. They were throwing lariats. You mentioned that choke slam. Good grief, Hulk Hogan, take notes. That is how you take a choke slam. Amisori was there to make Lady C look good, and I think it certainly worked. And I'd love to see Lady C at some point hold the future belt because I think she's earned it. I think she's paid her dues. I think she's progressed fantastically, but it's just not her time yet. And I think that's where we are at the moment. I can see her getting it maybe after Rena or maybe after the one after Rena. But I think for now, sort of hone your craft. If you're going to go with DDM, go with DDM, sort of wrestle like sort of in that style in the same way Mei Sakurai did. Or if you're going to stay with Queen's Quest, stay with Queen's Quest and sort of forge your way there. But I think she is a future, pun intended, future of Stardom champion. just not quite yet. And this is without saying anything about Amisori, who, again, is another one who has massively, massively improved and has benefited hugely from sharing the ring and sharing a team with the likes of Syuri. And I think the only reason I would take the belt off Amisori is because, and again, this is no disrespect, I think she's past the division by now. I think she could go on to other things rather than being the future of Stardom champion. I did give it 3.5 stars, not 3 3/4. I was slightly more down on it than you, but I still thought a really, really, really good match and another good title defense for Amisori.
And folks, if you had on your Stardom Cast bingo card Rob making a Lady C to Hulk Hogan reference, please let me know, because I want to know. I want to know. But all in all, yeah, great match. Who and answer your own question there, good sir. Who had the better chops, Ami or Lady C?
It's going to sound like a really stupid and contrived answer, but I like the contact of Amisori's more, but I like the form of Lady C's more. And I don't know why. I just feel Lady C's have got a very Kojima sort of style about them. And I think it's the way she holds her non-striking arm that sort of reminds me of Kojima. But to be honest, they're both really good chops. Amisori's are obviously a little bit more violent than Lady C's, but Lady C's form sticks with me. She gets an 8 out of 10 for form. But yeah. That's my answer in a really roundabout, silly way. We move on then to match 4, which of course we can't tell you anything about because we couldn't see it. The 8-woman tag team match. The Donna Del Mondo team of Julia Mika Tekla and Mai Sakurai defeated the Stars team, seconded by Fua, Mayu Iwatani, Hazuki, Saya Ida, and Hanan, with Mika pinning Saya Ida with the Michinoku Driver 2 in 9 minutes and 23 seconds. Match 5, tag team match. The God's Eye team of Syuri and Mirai defeating the Black Desire team of Starlight Kid and Momo Watanabe, with Mirai pinning Starlight Kid clean with a roll-up in 10 minutes and 15 seconds. It doesn't feel, even though, obviously, as I'm saying this now, she has just been pinned on pay-per-view, but we don't often see Starlight Kid pinned clean, do we, Matt?
No, not really. But again, she was probably, I mean, you're literally, I mean, if you take a look at the resume of these ladies in the ring, you have you have 2 Cinderella tournament winners. You have a finalist in the 5-star Grand Prix. You have a winner of the 5-star Grand Prix, arguably the greatest red belt champion of all time, arguably the greatest white belt champion of all time. Oh yeah, and Starlight Kid, she's really good too. But they did a really good job building Starlight Kid up. I thought everybody was great in this match, but I thought Starlight Kid was the MVP. So I mean, again, it makes sense if you're gonna beat somebody in this match. I thought they would have saved the draw for this match, not the next match we're going to talk about. But if you're going to beat somebody in this match, build them up towards the end, make sure that they look good in their offense, and is a really smart way to put this match together. I like how, like, Syuri and Mirai, even though they're part of God's Eye, they're really not like a tag team like how Momo and Starlight Kid are. I like how in the beginning, Momo and Starlight Kid would use their double teams to get the advantage on Syuri and Mirai. And then once Syuri and Mirai got a little bit of advantage, Oedo Tai interfered, and it turned into like the Korakuen Hall style brawl that we haven't seen in a while because of, you really weren't able to go in the crowd, a handful of months ago. So it was like, then they got the advantage that way. And then once they kind of came down to like a singles match, like we saw Syuri and Momo really tear it up. And we saw a really nice sequence with Syuri and Starlight Kid. And I don't remember a time that we've got, I don't think ever since Starlight Kid has turned to the dark side after she referenced found My Chemical Romance. I don't think we've ever had Starlight Kid versus Syuri straight up one-on-one match. And that's something that I would like to see somewhere in the future. But, then ultimately they basically have a sprint with Starlight Kid and Mirai, where it's almost like Starlight Kid was using like the high-speed offense, and the Mirai was just able to catch her, almost like, reversing one of her own hold to get the win. I thought the storytelling was really good. I thought the build-up was really good. And all four of these women are world-class professional wrestlers. So you knew it wasn't going to be a bad match by any stretch of the imaginations, and it wasn't. I had it at 3 3/4 stars. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was a really good undercard tag match. I mean, again, you've already said it. You look at who's in the ring, they're not going to have a bad match. And I don't think a pinfall every now and then hurts Starlight Kid at all. Obviously, Mirai getting the victory the thinking behind that became obvious when we got to the main event. But overall, these four women have really, really good chemistry. There's actually a question here from Al Douglas on our Patreon. And obviously last week we were talking about viable challenges for the Goddess belt at Yokohama. Now, obviously, now we know who that's going to be for Yokohama. But just thinking back to it, sort of getting into your headspace from last week, Matt, Al says, are Black Desire not an option for the Goddess belt at Yokohama? And I was thinking about this, and they should be, absolutely. It's Momo Watanabe and Starlight Kid, and as a team, I feel like they have a lot to offer. I feel like their run was sort of cut a bit prematurely, but I feel like they could do a job. But it feels at the moment like, as a team, they are stone cold, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm not really sure where they're going. And obviously they had a little mini run with the Goddess belts, and then they almost as soon as they lost them, they won the Artist belts with Saki Kashima, and that's some bangers of matches, like one after one after one, and then dropped them in that wild match with Prominence. But yeah, even like Meltier. I mean, we'll talk about it on the when we do the next show here in just a few minutes. But it's just like, it seems like ever since they dropped the belts, like there's really nothing going on, and Natsupoi just eating fall after fall. I don't even think that Saki ate a fall with the Cosmic Angels team in the Triangle Derby. I think it was all Natsupoi, but it's like, yeah, some of these teams, they really kind of need to heat up. It just seems like ever since like the 7-Up team came in, and they're like, it seems like all their focus is on them. And you have like, obviously FWC, I think we all agree there's more in store for Hazuki. She's going to go on to bigger and better things, but you can kind of just heat them up just a little bit. Obviously Maihimi, they're still there for a little bit. You can heat them up a little bit. But yeah, Black Desire, it's just like, what are you really doing with Momo and Starlight Kid right now? Why can't you heat them up and give them, a shot at the tag belts, or put them in a number one contenders match? But they really haven't been doing much with them here. Really since they dropped the belts, and even they had some good matches in the Goddess of Stardom tournament. But yeah, I see his point. It does seem like they are pretty stone cold at the moment, but I kind of have an idea what they're going to be doing with Momo at the Yokohama show. So I'm not shocked that they are not getting the title challenge here or at that show.
No, I mean, Al does go on to say, I personally don't think they're changing hands anyway until Saya drops the white belt, so that then Aphrodite can take them, which it makes sense to come full circle. Obviously, 7-Up beat Aphrodite in the final of the tag league, so that will be a nice storyline once Saya drops the white belt, whether that is against Mina Shirakawa or whether that is later on. I mean, the thing is with Black Desire, I imagine that this year, moving into 2024, Starlight Kid is going to have a massive, massive push as a singles wrestler. Whether that is through winning the Cinderella tournament or making it through to the final of the Cinderella tournament, or whether, is it out of the realms of possibility that she wins the 5-star? I mean, you heard on this show just how over Starlight Kid is. And she is a heel. Like, she's not a tweener. She is 100% heel as part of the heel faction in Stardom. And yet, I would argue she was one of the most over on this entire show, Matt. So, clearly, whatever they're going to do with Starlight Kid, I feel like it's going to be well received. If they are going to do, and let me pose this in the form of a question to you, if they do Stardom Dream Queendom 3. If they do that and the winner of the 5-star takes on the Red Belt champion at Dream Queendom in the main event of Sumo Hall, let's just assume it's going to stay Julia, which I think it probably will be. Do you see Starlight Kid as one half of that main event?
I see 3 people. And Starlight, I don't know who won. I know 1 and 2 who they are. I don't know where I have them, but I would have Starlight Kid number 3. Julia, not unless she stops drawing money and they lose faith in her, which I don't see it happen. I don't see Julia dropping I obviously see Julia as one half of that main event. I don't see Julia dropping the belt. That you've already changed. The first Dream Queendom, you changed the belt. Mm-hmm. The second one, you changed the belt. I think that Julia's going to have a 14, 15, 16-month reign to the point where she's even going to be tapping on the V14 of Io Shirai. I think that whether she does or doesn't, I think it's going to be something that when we talk about Stardom at the end of the year, that's something that we're going to have to bringing up. But I see Starlight Kid as the third option. One and two, I don't know the order. Is Saya Kamitani and Utami. I think either Saya or Utami is going to win the 5-star. I even think Saya, early prediction, Saya is going to be going up against Utami in the finals of the 5-star. Obviously, we don't know the brackets, anything like that, but that's just my kind of crazy prediction. But either one of those main events, Julia versus Saya, Julia versus Utami, Julia versus Starlight Kid, it's a win-win-win. And I don't think anybody's gonna, I say wrestling's subjective, but if you don't think that's gonna be a good main event, you're nuts. You're nuts. Sorry, you're crazy. But yeah, it is a possibility. And I actually wrote an article. I didn't get a chance to. I have to finish it. I just been so busy. My next article for the website is going to be on is Starlight Kid too good to be a bad guy. And I'm about 75% done with it. I'm gonna hopefully go back to it in maybe about a week or two once I have a minute to breathe and post that article on the Stardom Cast website. But yeah, I totally agree. It really all it takes is, I mean, what's the hate about her? How am I supposed to how am I supposed to hate her? She's got this awesome entrance. She's got the cool robe, the cool mask. She's got she's very charismatic. Oh yeah, and by the way, when the bell rings, she's fantastic. Like how am I supposed to boo this person?
I mean, you've got a very good point. I mean, just looking at the list of 5-star winners, the last 5-star winner to be unsuccessful was Hana Kimura back in 2019. So you had Utami win in 2020 and then go on to beat Mayu. You had Shiori then go on to beat Utami, and then you had Julie go on to beat Shiori. I feel like you're absolutely spot on. I feel like we are due an unsuccessful challenge. And I think if you're due an unsuccessful challenge and you haven't got the pressure of putting the main prize of Stardom on them and sort of start testing the water, the time is right to give not necessarily someone who, someone you wouldn't necessarily expect, maybe a Starlight Kid, that chance, that opportunity. Okay, let's see how she does at the top of the card at a Sumo Hall. I know we've sort of gone off the rails a little bit here, but that's
of course we have. That's your free bingo spot. Will Matt and Rob go off the rails? Of course we have.
But in my opinion, that's why I feel like Black Desire has been put on the back burner. I feel like it was there to do a job. They did that job, and it has now been shelved. They'll team every now and then, but I don't feel like they are a full-time tag team in the tag division, let's put it that way. Let's move on then to match number 6, which was a 6-woman tag team match, the Cosmic Angels team of Tam Nakano, Natsupoi, and Saki. That's not the team. What am I talking about?
Sir.
What am I talking about? 6-woman tag team match, Cosmic Angels, Tam Nakano, Mina Shirakawa, and Mariah May. Don't know why I put Natsupoi and Saki. I think that's because I'm so used to typing it because of the Triangle Derby. And the Queen's Quest team of Utami Hayashishita, Sai Kamitani, and Azumi ended in a time limit draw in 15 minutes. And all my notes have got Mina in them, so I don't know why I've put Saki in there and Natsupoi. But overall, I think the time limit draw here worked, and I enjoyed the chemistry between Saya and Mina. They have that sort of, it's the Tam and Mayu energy, where you can let it cool off, and then once you heat it up again, you're there for it straight away. I did see a couple of people who worried that maybe we've left it too long and the sheen sort of gone off of Mina. However, I feel like a good couple of wins heading into Yokohama, a strong Cinderella. I feel like she's a very, very viable and credible threat to Saya Kamitani. That credible that I think she's winning, but that's beside the point. And I think you can really write a story in Saya Kamitani not being sure of herself because of what she did last time to Mina in kneeing her in the face during a botched Phoenix Splash. I know you hate that word, Matt. But I feel like there's a narrative there. They've started to plant those seeds. Again, Mina Shirakawa had the beating of Saya Kamitani as the bell went. Saya Kamitani would have lost a lot of matches had the time limit been more than 15 minutes over the last couple of weeks. But, she eats the glamorous driver Mina just as the bell goes, sort of an emphatic full stop on the match from Mina. But aside from that, aside from obviously the main focus of this match being Mina and Saya heading into Yokohama, I felt like everyone else played their part really, really well. You had Tam and Utami putting on an absolutely brilliant little exchange. The suplex spot with Utami popping straight up like some sort of zombie with this death look in her face, and the camera angle was really, really good to see it as she then throws Tam across the ring. But overall, I felt like this was an enjoyable 6-woman tag, a time limit draw. It was going to happen, and I think it's probably the right result here. Overall, it was a really, really solid match. I gave it 3 3/4 stars, Matt.
Wow, I'll tell you right, it's my favorite match of the 2 nights, 4 1/4.
Wow.
I absolutely love this match. Obviously, look who's involved. Look who's involved, especially the trio that Utami, Saya, Zumi. I kind of thought when we were reviewing this match, I'm like, well, they're going to give the win here to Queen's Quest. You have Utami, who's protected. You have Saya, the white belt champion. You have Azumi, the high speed champion, and they're next in line for the artist belts. Obviously, you're gonna beat Mariah May. But that just goes to show you what confidence, and rightfully so, Stardom has on Mariah May, where everybody was really protected in this match. But you mentioned it before that one of my notes here, kind of halfway through, is can we please get another Tam versus Utami singles match, please? I know we had 2 bangers in the 5-star in 2022 and in 2021, which I think that match was on the final night. I think Tam and Utami was the final night of the 5-star. If I'm wrong, I know there's a book that I can go to about 2021 that would prove me right or wrong, called Living the Dream, Stardom's 10th anniversary in review. Mark it on the bingo card, folks. Didn't have any idea how I was going to work that into place in 2021. But the crux of this match, the build of this match is to build towards Mina and Saya. And it started with, basically the bell rang, and Saya basically told her Queen's Quest brethren, no, I'm starting this match. Mina does the same thing. And basically, before they even take center of the ring, Korakuen's all into it. So we basically get like the mini match to start. And then Mariah May gets in there. She has a really good sequence with Saya and Azumi. And then, of course, we get Tam and Utami just dropping each other on their heads. That was fantastic. And then we basically get back to Mina and Saya, where Mina's getting the better part of Saya. And then I like the cohesiveness of Queen's Quest. One of the many reasons why I like them is they see that Saya's getting beat up, so Utami and Azumi come in and make the save. So I thought was really, really cool, and it basically tells a really cool story like, hey, Saya, I have you beat here, but you had to have your 2 buddies come in and save your ass. I thought that's a cool little story. Saya comes in, she does the big dives, and then we get back down to Saya and Mina. And yeah, you're right. Saya Kamitani would have a lot more L's in the column if it wasn't for that time limit draw. It just seems like she knows when to hang on to when it hits like 14:55. Because if you guys think, Rob, if you're not in a submission, if you get hit with a move at 14:57, the ref has to get down and do a 3 count, and that could take anywhere from 3 to 5 seconds. So yeah, she does a good job hanging on. But to me, and like I said, there's 85% of everybody I talk to, they think the belt's changing hands at Yokohama. And again, I'm not sure. I still think it's going to be Saya, and the way that this match was built, especially with Saya really putting Mina over in this match, it reminded me of what happened about a month ago on these multi-person matches where Saya was really putting Hazuki over in the match. And in turn, Saya gets the big win at the big pay-per-view. I think they, I don't know. And I don't know, maybe they're doing a rinse and repeat, copying a get an A thing here with we're just going to do, what we do with Mina, what we did with Hazuki. But again, I don't know. And that's what's great. Like, I look at this Yokohama show, there's so many matches. I'm like, it can go either way. But all in all, great match. Again, Mariah May looked great. I want another Tam Utami match. And again, Queen's Quest is awesome. Again, my favorite match of these 2 shows, 4 1/4 stars.
It's an interesting thought with Mina Shirakawa, because if she loses here, that's 2 shots she's had against Saya and lost. And I feel like that does derail Mina. I don't feel like she's been derailed at the moment. I don't feel like the sheen's gone off her. You heard the reaction from the Korakuen crowd. She's still incredibly over. And we're only on, as we record, the 15th of March. The show's not for over another month. So we've still got a lot of time to build this feud. I just feel like if it's not going to be Mina, I mean, you could potentially have it be Starlight Kid, but I feel like there's more of a story with Mina. There was a story with Hazuki, obviously with her failed 5th attempt at the white belt, and you've got the story here of sort of redemption of Saya Kamitani after she injured Mina. And you could see that from the very start, those opening exchanges where Saya, who's usually very, very confident in her way of going forward, but she was really quite meek in those opening exchanges, and it took some belting slaps from Mina for her to sort of come round. And it's almost like Saya's like, how do I actually wrestle Mina? And she's starting to doubt herself, and I feel like if that's the reason she drops the white belt, I feel like that's a really cool story and a really cool narrative to lean into. Whether they do that or whether they just do what they did with Hazuki, I don't know. And that obviously opens up an entirely new who does Saya Kamitani drop the belt to, because by then I believe it's 16, so she will have been on, is that 17 title defenses? Is that what that is?
Yeah, she's right now. She's at V15, so she's tied Toni Storm for the most consecutive in one single reign in the history of Stardom. So, and Mina is not. And again, we'll obviously talk about this more in the future as we get closer to the show. Mina is a fantastic choice, and I think the choice they may want to go to. But I think that you have a better option in there, and I think that's the Hazuki option. Again, I think Hazuki wins the Cinderella. And then I think she takes, you build her back up. Again, another story for another day. But there's not many people that are in the Saya beating Mina camp other than really me and just a few other people. But again, we will see what happens here in the next 4 or 5 weeks.
I hate you when you do this, because you'll say something and I'm like, I can't get that out of my head now. So they'll have Hazuki go for it at the Fukuoka show in May.
You shouldn't hate me, buddy. I'm nothing but nice to you. I don't know why you would say that.
Hate's such a strong word.
Yeah. You only use hate. You only use hate when you use the words racism and country music. That's all I do.
That's a great album title.
Yikes. Anyway.
So, match 7, the semi-main, was a singles match with Natsupoi getting a clean victory over Himeka with what Stardom World said was an Udi Hishigi Juji Gatame. Thank you very much. But I'm reliably informed by Dana on Twitter. It's Dana now. Definitely follow them. It's great. Is actually called the Fairy Princess. So that is the name of Natsupoi's armbar. And that was in 14 minutes and 48 seconds, just 12 seconds short of the time limit. Now, this match for me was excellent. It was well paced. You had a great through line of Natsupoi targeting Himeka's arm. But as well, when they got to the very, very end, and you've got the timekeeper getting more and more irate as they get close to 15 minutes, you automatically assume, because it's Stardom and because it's Rossi Ogawa, you assume, right, we're going to a time limit draw then. But to have Himeka tap out that close to the time limit just added that, oh my God, what? That's amazing. And it sort of we get to a certain point with Stardom matches where we think, right, it's gone past that time, we're going to a time limit draw. And I thought that's where we were going here. We got past 14 minutes and I was like, do you know what? It's going to be a time limit draw. As good as the match is, it's going to a time limit draw. And then to have this surprise and to have Natsupoi properly wrenching back on that Fairy Princess and Himeka, the first couple of times she tapped, it was almost like she didn't want to. She was doing it in spite of herself. And then she started hitting the mat hard as Natsupoi wrenched back. It's great to see Natsupoi get a little bit of win back, because you're absolutely right, Matt. Any pinfalls that Cosmic Angels took during that Triangle Derby seemed to be Natsupoi. And I think Himeka, she's going away. So if she can help anyone else who's going to be remaining in the company, she's obviously going to. Overall, I thought these two had really, really, really good chemistry. Himeka literally tossing Natsupoi around at one point, gorilla pressing her just out of the ring. Just get out of the ring, Natsupoi. Right onto the floor, and she bounced. And that's something that's really good when you've got someone the size of Himeka and someone who is the size and the build and has the ability to sell like Natsupoi, because it makes Himeka, even an injured Himeka, it makes her look like an absolute monster. And I thought that story of sort of David and Goliath and Natsupoi being able to put her away right at the last minute, I thought it was a great story. I gave it 4 stars, Matt.
I was the same, 4 stars as well. And you have a wrestling company that has a lot of really good submission wrestlers. So when Natsupoi is like, I'm going to come up with a new finish, I'm going to come up with an armbar. How can I do it different? Or it looks different from a Shiri or a Julia or so on and so forth. Oh, I'll do that crazy Ferrio blink thing into the armbar. Because essentially that's just what it was. And I'm like, that's awesome. I'm like, now we have Natsupoi basically going into the shooter realm, doing armbar submissions. And maybe Rob, maybe this is where the whole entire Natsupoi beatdown tour is leading us to, where she's like, I'm tired of getting beat down. I'm going to come up with a crazy armbar, and I'm going to do it on the Jumbo Princess on her way out. How about that? But yeah, really cool story. Just another wrinkle in the fantastic offense that is Natsupoi. And I liked how like they build towards it. They build towards it. And anytime she had it on, Himika would use her power to power out. She even did the Rampage Jackson power bomb, which I really, really enjoyed. I enjoyed how I knew how this match was going to start. The bell rings, they stare each other down, and I'm like, they're going to start slapping each other. And boy, howdy did they. These two really, really went at it. Yeah, then I got to a point where Natsupoi was on a roll with offense, and then Himika's like, yeah, I'm just going to gorilla press you out of the ring. And yeah, like you said, Natsupoi bounced off the floor like it was a basketball. But yeah, it was the really cool thing with the submission happening at 14:48 is we've seen it a lot where like someone will get a 3 count or a tap out with like 1 second left or 2 seconds left. So it's like, okay, they're either going to get to the actual time limit or wait a second or two before. But they gave us like a 10 to 12 second break there. I'm like, oh, I didn't think it was going to happen like not that quick, but I thought they would have stretched it a little bit more. Maybe that's what it was leading to the soft tap out into the longer tap out. So this way is more of a visual for Himika to put over Natsupoi. But yeah, I thought this was really, really good. I liked how but when Himika was going for the JP coaster and on the way down, Natsupoi countered in the armbar. I thought that was really, really athletic. Yeah, and a really, really big win for Natsupoi to get a submission win over her former DDM stablemate on such a big show at Korakuen Hall. Yeah, excellent, 4 stars. Really good way to build towards the main event.
Yeah, we Natsupoi is another great talent and another example of someone who, in a long list of Stardom talent that you can tap on the shoulder and just go, right, can you do this semi-main or this main event, and she will blow it out of the water. I mean, that sequence that you were referring to where she goes out of the Fairy Blink into the Fairy Princess was great. And then to have Himika sort of grind her way to her feet and hit that one-arm powerbomb, which is always incredibly impressive whenever you see it in a match. But because Natsupoi sells it so well and just bounces across the ring, it's just so impactful. And I felt like these two have a really, really untapped chemistry when it comes to singles matches against each other. And obviously you add to the emotion that they have from being very close whilst they were both in Donna Del Mondo. And it was a really, really, really enjoyable match. And in fact, it was only stopped being my favourite match on the card by this main event. So match 8, Goddesses of Stardom Championship match. The champions 7-Up defeat BMI 2000, Natsukatora and Ruaka, with you getting the pinfall over Ruaka with the diving body splash. Now, we have been... we've been 2 things. We have been complimentary of Nene Takahashi's work on the New Blood shows in giving a lot to the lesser experienced or the younger talent. Waka Tsukiyama is a huge example. Lady C is another. And we've been down on the way 7-Up have been pushed to the moon somewhat. They were semi-finalists in the Triangle Derby. They won the Goddess of Storm Tag League and perhaps shouldn't have done, and it wasn't very well received. One thing you can't say, however, about 7-Up is that their matches aren't good. Now, I felt like going into this, it was going to be a good match, but there's not a cat in hell's chance that BMI 2000 are winning. And it's going to be a very by-the-numbers defense for 7-Up. And it had the potential to be quite sort of straight-laced, like no sort of trouble in it, 7-Up win, there you go, standard. What they did here, though, was they elevated Ruaka to such a point that the entirety of Korakuen Hall is chanting Ruaka's name. This is a 17-year-old heel in a Oedo tie, and she's the most over person in this match, where one of them is an ex-red belt champion. But Nene especially gave Ruaka so much in this match. And from her standpoint, from Ruaka's standpoint, this is her best performance in Stardom, without a doubt. However, she comes out of this, and I've talked about it on numerous podcast episodes before, where a loss doesn't have to be damaging. Everyone sort of anticipated that BMI 2000 were losing, but it's the way in which you lose. And I feel like the amount that Ruaka was given from Nene, that whole clothesline exchange and Ruaka standing her ground and refusing to go down, sort of being able to floor Nene Takahashi with clotheslines of her own. She hits the freezer bomb, managing to power both you and Nene Takahashi at different points into the Fisherman Buster, which is always impressive when you consider the height disparity between the three of them. I thought here this was all about Ruaka. I thought Nene put on another fantastic, in inverted commas, passion injection match where she's helped to elevate a younger talent. I don't know what you thought about Yu's selling during this match, but I thought it was a damn sight better. I thought it was a lot more consistent, and she also gave Ruaka a lot during this match. But overall, I thought that the four women turned what had the potential to be a pain by numbers title defense into a very exciting platform to elevate Ruaka. And I thought they took the ball and took the opportunity with both hands.
Yeah, I say it all the time on this podcast that, or anybody that just listens, that will listen to me about me talking about wrestling. If you don't build your opponent up after you in a match and then you beat them, then who'd you beat? You really didn't beat anybody. And yeah, Ruaka was built up more in this match than anybody, in this fantastic Korakuen Hall show, the legendary Japanese venue. We're in the main event at Korakuen Hall for a world championship. The place was going ballistic for Ruaka. And I've said on this show, back in the summer, I'm like, I don't think she's progressing at all. And I was a little concerned to see what they're going to do with her. And all of a sudden, they put her in this tag team with Natsuko Tora, and she's having great singles matches, great tag matches, great multi-person matches. So you can see, I don't know if it's Tora's influence or what's going on, but the last 3 or 4 months, Ruaka is really, really improving, which is really great to see. Anytime you see somebody being successful at something that they truly love. And Nene Takahashi, yes, she's been doing it ever since she's been back, and she's been elevating the younger talent of Stardom. And her and you did a great job getting Ruaka over and giving a majority of the offense, and then in turn they go and beat her. So that just makes 7 up stronger. It's really just simple. Wrestling can be really simple when you break it down, and that's exactly what you and Nene did. And you wanted me to comment on you selling. At first, it looked like you was going to kind of go to like very low selling, but she made Ruaka work for it. She made Ruaka even a couple times with Tora, like she would get hit with a couple forearms or kicks or punches, and she would kind of stagger just a little, and she would make them have to hit her harder or hit her with combinations, and then she did the proper selling. So I absolutely have no problem with that. I actually prefer that. She really made the two of them, and especially Ruaka really earned it, really earned the bump, really earned, the sell, really earned showing that there's pain on my face from Ruaka, giving me moves and whatnot. But yeah, it was. I was a little shocked when this was the main event because I really thought they would have put either the Natsupoi Himika match on there or the QQ versus Cosmic Angels. But again, it just goes to show you how much value Stardom has in their championships, and I'm glad that this one did go on last, just based on the reaction. I thought this was really good, and I'm assuming this was your favorite match on the show. I'm just curious to see what your star rating was, because mine was I enjoyed it. I'm assuming your star rating is probably going to be higher than mine because I had it at 3 3/4 stars.
It is indeed. I gave it 4 stars.
Okay. There you go.
There you go, indeed. Again, I just thought not only was it a good match in its own right, which 7 Up are able to do seemingly on a whim, but I felt like their ability to elevate opponents and just that crowd reaction for Ruaka really took me for a loop, to be perfectly honest, because I just did not expect it. And I hope that they're able to capitalize on this, and maybe we see a bit more of BMI 2000 in the tag division, because I think as a team they both work really well together, as proved during the tag league. So obviously we talked about Blood Desire a little earlier in the show, but it's not going to be them challenging 7-Up at the Yokohama Arena. Instead, they called for a challenge, and who should enter but the new eras, and that is, of course, Mirai and Amisori. After a heavily clipped promo, it is decided that is going to be our Goddesses of Stardom Championships match at the Yokohama Arena. 7-Up against the new eras. Now, Matt, I am extremely excited about the promise of this, simply because I think the new eras are an extremely good team. I think their styles will mesh well with 7-Up. What about you? Are you excited? Do you think this is, with the matches we've already had announced for the show, and who can't take place, therefore, or can't take part, in the tag match, do you feel like this is the best we can do? Because I, for one, think I'd forgotten the new eras were even a team. So to have them walk out, I was like, do you know what? I very briefly thought we were going to get Mirai and Syuri, until obviously the Syuri and Chihiro Hashimoto program came to being. So to have Mirai and Amisori have a chance, I'm down for that. Massively, massively down for that. Because if 7-Up put on another match like they've been doing, and Mirai and Amisori do what I know Mirai and Amisori can do, it's going to be a hard-hitting banger. A hard-hitting banger, and I am here for it.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be shocked if we see a title change here. Because again, Mariah's kind of lost in the shuffle. Amisori, I think she's kind of past the future division. So I would not be shocked to see a title change here. My only concern is when it comes to you and her lack of selling, it is more prevalent against Mariah and Amisori. We saw it in the tag league. We saw it in the Triangle Derby. I don't know what it is. Again, maybe this is the whole thing. Maybe this is the whole story where then Mariah's going to come out and like clothesline, you into next week and then put her in the double wrist lock and tap her. Maybe that's the whole story going in. I am, you please prove me wrong. I will be, if you go out there and this is a banger and you're selling and you're bumping and you're building up these two fantastic talents, that is Mirai and Amisori, I will be the first one to come on this podcast and say that I'm wrong, because you is such a fantastic talent. It's just the lack of selling that she does, especially when she's in the ring with Ami and Mirai. I mean, if you go on the biggest show in the history of Stardom in a world championship match, and she does not put over these two because of her lack of selling, it's not going to be a good look for Stardom in the tag division. That is my only concern, and it is a major concern. And I am hoping that I am wrong. And I'm wrong all the time, Rob. All the time.
You said we were handsome men earlier, so that's something that's you said that was wrong.
That's
just on
right.
This podcast.
How dare you, sir? How dare you?
So I completely understand your misgivings. I think she's going to sell. I think it's part of a story. I think Mirai and Amisori take the belts. My question to you is, as in you personally, not you, the wrestler.
You knew what I was going to say.
I knew it, man. I knew. Does Amisori go into Yokohama as the Future of Stardom champion, or does she drop the belt prior to the show to Rina?
I think either or, because if you want to, if you can put the Future Stardom Championship on this card, but I think it'd be a cool visual to see Amisori walking out with two belts. I'm going to say she goes in with one belt and walks out with two. Interesting.
So I'm just looking at the Cinderella bracket now. So Rina has got Mariah May in the first round. Who's Amisori got? Yuna Mizumori. So we could actually see Amisori. If she beats Yuna Mizumori, she goes on to take the winner of Starlight Kid and Haruka Umasaki. Sorry, I'm just trying to see if one of these is going to have a strong showing in the in the Cinderella tournament, but I don't
What
think they will.
Rob is doing, folks, is he's wetting your beak on the bracketology episode for next week. That's what he's doing.
Absolutely. I'm just plugging my hard work. But what I will say is it's Hina that takes on double X and Lady C that takes on single X. So I did get that wrong earlier. I apologize. What we'll do is then, with the show from the 11th, I'll just read through all the results and then we'll sort of cherry pick the things we want to talk about. Obviously, we're going to be talking about that main event between Meltier and Mai Himi, but obviously we'll cherry pick things from the rest of the card. So here we go from Hachioji in Tokyo from the 11th of March in the Tokyo Tamamarai Mess in front of 512 people. We opened with a three-way match, which saw Lady C win against Yuna Mizumori and Ram Kai-Chao, with Ram getting disqualified in 7 minutes and 43 seconds. Match 2, tag team match. The Club Venus team of Mariah May and Mina Shirakawa defeated the Oedatai team of Ruaka and Rina in 9 minutes and 18 seconds with the Glamorous Collection Mina. 6-woman tag team match next. Donna Del Mondo team of Mai Sakurai, Tekla, and Julia defeating the Stars team of Momokogo, Koguma, and Hanan, with Tekla getting the pinfall with the Dokugumo death drop on Momokogo. We then had another 6-woman tag team match with the God's Eye team of Syuri, Mirai, and Amisori defeating the Stars team of Mayu Iwatani, Saya Ida, and Hazuki, with Mirai getting the pinfall with the Mirror Mare shock on Saya Ida. We then had a 10-woman tag team match with the Oedatai team of Natsukatora, Saki Kashima, Fukigen Death, Starlight Kid, and Momo Watanabe, defeating the Queen's Quest team of Utami Hayashishita, Azumi, Saya Kamitani, Hina, and Miyu Amasaki, with, you guessed it, Fukigen Death getting the pinfall in 14 minutes and 27 seconds. And then in our main event, a Himika Retirement Road tag team match. Mai Himi got the pinfall over Meltier in 14 minutes and 4 seconds. Himika getting something of a revenge over Natsupoi with the running powerbomb. So, Matt, what would you like to talk about on this card, good sir?
Let's just talk about the last 3 matches, if that's okay with you.
Oh, you do what you want, good sir.
Oh, wow. Let's not go that far. I talked about it earlier when you said who chops harder, Amisori or Lady C. As brutal as those chops were, the Saida Amisori chops were even more brutal. And the fact that Saida is smaller, so she doesn't have the leverage advantage, but obviously stronger pound for pound. I think she's got the hardest hitting, like, sounding chops. I don't know if it was just maybe the building they were in, but she was hitting Amisori with these chops. I mean, it was echoing in that building. And then I like the fact that we got a little Shiri versus Mayu action, and then after the match, the two of them try to attack each other with chairs that you can't fold up, and then Mayu went into the third row and then went in hibernation with the chair over her, as if saying, "Oh, you won't be able to find me now." It's like you literally have two of the best wrestlers in the world, male or female, two of the best female wrestlers of all time, and then there's two big geeks and idiots, like in the best way possible.
Yeah.
And then I really liked how both teams used like a lot of triple team action. I thought that was really cool. Like you saw the triple brute scrapes from Stars, then you saw the triple submission attempts from, or not submission attempts, but actual submissions getting on from the God's Eye team. And then towards the end, you get Mirai and Saida just tearing it down. And as brutal as Ami versus Saida was, Mirai and Saida was even worse, because Saida's really throwing clotheslines and shoulder tackles, and Mirai hits her with this lariat that just a combination of the force she hits the lariat with, and there's the bump and that Saida takes from Mirai to get the lariat more over, and then basically hitting her with the mirror. Mirai shocked. I thought Saida was the MVP in this match. I mean, she's just so criminally underrated, and again, she just lost in the shuffle of just this stacked Stardom roster. That maybe I think they think they need to do something with her. Maybe just give her a little bit of a push. Maybe give her some wins, because I think she's just absolutely fantastic. But I really enjoyed this match. I enjoyed the violence, and I enjoyed the geekiness that is Sherry versus Mayu in these type of matches. But this was really good. I had it 3 3/4 stars.
Yeah, I had a 3.5. Great exhibition from all 6 women. I did enjoy. You were talking about Mayu and Shiori both being geeks. You're forgetting that obviously Mayu tried to pick something up thinking it was part of her costume and it was part of Shiori's costume, so ended up dragging Shiori around the ring with it, which I thought was quite funny as well. But yes, the visual of Mayu Iwatani trying to compact herself into a small enough package to get underneath one of the chairs that doesn't fold up is just it's equivalent to burglars attempting to hide under your carpet. It's very much the whole kids, if I can't see you, you can't see me thing. But yes, Mayu Iwatani continuing to make people laugh. I enjoyed this match. I want to talk obviously about the main event, which, considering it only went 40 minutes, I thought they crammed a hell of a lot into this match because you've got 2 of the best teams in Stardom. But before we get to that, we'll talk a little bit about Oedetai and Queen's Quest. Another really, really, really good match. I would have had Saya Kamitani go over here. Now, my only reasoning behind that is because, as we've already mentioned, Saya Kamitani has lost a lot of matches in the 15-minute and 1, 2, or 3 seconds with the likes of Hazuki or Mina Shirakawa. You don't want to make your Wonder of Stardom champion look too weak, so maybe just, when it's a throwaway 10-woman tag or an undercard 8-woman tag or 6-woman tag, give Saya Kamitani the victories. Have her pin the likes of Fukigen Death, who I'm sure can, have one night off from winning every single multi-woman tag in the world. I feel like that's my only real ground with that. Otherwise, it was barrels of fun.
Yeah, just a couple. I just want to just touch a couple points. It was very much similar to the Queen's Quest Cosmic Angels match we just talked about, where it started with Saki versus Zumi, and then it basically boiled down to Saki versus Zumi. So we got that little preview for the next high speed matchup, and I love how Stardom they do these in the multi tag matches. They give us little previews of big matches or title matches coming up. So I thought their exchanges was really good. I see your point with Saya Kamitani, but I thought the Aphrodite team, I thought Saya and Utami had a lot of really cool double team stuff here, and I thought they looked like the stars of this match. But again, the main point I want to put out on this match was, again, I think it's in Fukigen Death's contract. If it's a multi-person tag match, she wins via O'Connor roll, and she went 2 for 2 on this weekend. So the all in all solid match, 3.5 stars.
Yeah, it was solid. I gave it 3.5 as well. It's a fun one to go and check out. But I would argue, if you're going to seek out this show, the main event and the God's Eye versus Stars 6-woman. But this main event, for a start, we had new music for Meltier.
I will get used to it. And then from what I understand on the show today, Natsupoi had long hair and there's new music and a new dance. That's what I was tipped off to on the show today. So I mean, I don't know how you improve on perfection, Rob, but we got, so far Stardom with the switching up of the music over the last few months. If you had Julia, and again, I love Julia. I think she's great. I think what she's going to do for the company from, this point on is going to be great, growing the company, but I just can't get into her new theme. I can't. Again, Hazuki, her newer theme is pretty good. Nowhere near as good as her last theme. Maybe it'll grow on me, but it's like, yeah, new theme music, no crowns, and they didn't dance, did they?
They did a little.
That's your crutch.
They boogied. They boogied. They bopped. They didn't dance.
That's like if you're an Ultimate Warrior fan in the 80s and 90s and he only kind of jogs to the ring. Like, you know what I mean? Again, if you had Meltier and an Ultimate Warrior reference in the same breath on your bingo card, please let me know. But it's like, what? What's going on? I'm like, okay, hold on. I literally had to like kind of pause and kind of take a deep breath to get back at myself. I'm like, how do you improve on perfection? But again, I'm excited to see what the new dance with Natsupoi's new hair and the new theme is on the show that came today. But the new theme, I don't know. I'm eventually get with it, because I'm a huge Meltier supporter.
Yeah, I don't think I'm ever going to get used to Julia's YouTube copyright-free lounge music theme. Especially just because our old theme was so damn good. But yes, apparently the show from today, the 15th, the track that they debuted was called Tia's Tale. And it does come with a new dance and with a Natsupoi with new hair accessories. So we'll see how that goes when they release the 15th show on Stardom World. But this match was it was two of the best tag teams in Stardom being given 15 minutes to go and knock it out of the park. And again, if you like what My Himi do, if you like the chemistry that they have, it was an extension of the match that they had at Korakuen, but with Tam and Micah in it as well, being able to add fantastic sorts of supporting cast roles. Because again, for me anyway, this match still very much centered on Natsupoi and Himika. And, I feel like any match on Himika's retirement road should rightly focus on Himika. But I thought overall, these four women showed why they are two, if not the two best tag teams in the Stardom, on the entire Stardom roster, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. This was great. They did a great job right from the outset, basically double team moves, basically showing like, hey, here are two of the best tag teams in the last, handful of months, last year or so. Well, Meltier's only been a team for 7-8 months, but you know what I mean, in the last handful of months. So it's like you would get the Meltier tandem offense, which relies on speed and like striking. And then you would get the, the brute force of the My Himi offense. And then even to the point where Meltier would go for the hand-holding dive, which I absolutely love. And the first time they go to it, Mike and him are like, nope, absolutely not. And they catch they catch Meltier, and then very similar to the Korakuen show, they just body press them off the apron to the floor. Eventually, they build back up to it. I love it when they build up to a spot. So they build up to it. They hit the hand-holding dive. Stereo German suplexes from Meltier, which was just so, like, the timing and just the visual of it, with Mike and Himika being so much taller and bigger than Tam and Natsupoi. I thought that was a really cool visual. But one of probably the coolest spot in the match was the Tower of Doom, which we've seen Mike and Himika do before, but Himika superplexing Natsupoi and Tam at the same time. I was like, holy jeez, like, you're really going all out here. It's a small little nitpick. I probably would have put Meltier over, because it's like, okay, you're finally building Natsupoi back up after losing all these losses. You really don't need My Himi to win a match here. But then after they do the promo afterwards, which we'll get to, I'm like, that makes more sense. But again, I still maybe would have had Meltier go over, but I love the finish with the running clothesline to the back of Natsupoi's head, and then finishing off with a concussion bomb. Yeah, all in all, great match. Again, the Korakuen show, pretty much everything on the show is something that you kind of need to see with this match. Like Rob said, just the 6-person tag with God's Eye versus the Stars team, and then this is just a must-see tag match. I thought this was great. I had it a solid 4 stars.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, I can see what you mean. I think that's probably why they had Himika put over Natsupoi at Korakuen Hall, because they knew they were announcing what they were going to announce at the end of this show. And obviously what Matt's alluding to is there was 2 things that Himika said during her promo. The first was she wanted to do something with the other members of the Golden Generation, in inverted commas. Now, that, to my knowledge, and I could be wrong, let me see if I can remember them, because I didn't note them down. So there are 5 members of the Golden Generation. There's Himika, Micah, Utami, Sayurida, Saya Kamitani. I think those are the 5. And Himika wants to do something, whether it is a sort of scramble tag or whether it's a 5-way. That's something she wants to put on the table. I think that could be something that they maybe do at the Wave show that we talked about right at the top of this episode. But perhaps more excitingly than that, she has told Micah that she wants to team as My Himi once more. And what team could they possibly bring out for such a historic occasion? I know. Let's reform ALK. So yes, Julia and Shuri are reforming, presumably for one time only, to face off against My Himi in a rematch of the Yokohama in spring show back in 2021. Now, I haven't watched that match, I'll be honest, since I reviewed it, and from what I remember, I didn't actually like it that much. But I think I was in a fairly negative headspace, so that might be why. So I'm going to go back and watch it before this match. But the idea of this match, where all 4 women have grown so much in the space of 2 years, I am very, very, very excited for this stop on the Himika retirement roadmap.
Yeah, this is something really big, and yeah, you're right. I mean, I do have your book right here in front of me. Starting Living the Dream, 10th anniversary in review. But I remember reading your review, and you weren't for a match that should have been an absolute banger. I think it just kind of maybe the timing was off, and then I remember watching it myself, and I thought it was a match that should have been excellent, and it was just good to very good. I can't imagine this match not being an absolute, 4.25 star banger, considering the fact that Mike and Himika, as individual performers and as a tag team, are so much better now than they were 2 years ago. You have Shuri, the wrestler, one of the wrestlers of the year the last 2 years, and Julia, basically the front runner, leading the company into the future. And then kind of teaming up, and they're going to go all out to give Himika a fantastic match. And when Himika, I'm not to quote the late great Bobby the Brain Heenan in Mr. Perfect when Ric Flair won the 1992 Royal Rumble. We're not the type of people that said I told you so, but I told you so. If you remember when we covered Himika's retirement when she made the announcement, I said I bet you that her final tag match with Micah is going to be against ALK. And here it is, folks. I pulled another one out of my pocket.
Honestly, the man keeps knocking them out of the park. Yeah, I mean, what an exciting tag match. I would have loved to have seen that on a big pay-per-view, but obviously with Julia holding the red belt, that's not really possible. So I see that being a main event on a Korakuen Hall. Now, obviously that does very much depend on if Stardom are running a Korakuen Hall between now and... So they're running a Korakuen on... We are on April, aren't we?
We're in March. We're in March right now, buddy.
No. I'm looking on the Stardom schedule now.
Well, while you're looking that up, Rob, I mean, who's to say that the Cinderella finals, you can't do it there?
I mean, that's a very good point as well. So you've got the Cinderella Championship final. That's on the 15th. You've got... The Korakuen is actually the day before, on the 14th.
Oh.
And then you've obviously got the show, the second round and quarterfinals. That's on the 2nd of April. So, and that's obviously where Kairi's going to be telling us who she's bringing in for Yokohama. So you've got 2 Korakuen Halls that you could easily main event with ALK versus My Himi. And then, of course, if you do want to do that at the Cinderella tournament show, then that would also be very, very good as well. Either way, we are getting ALK versus My Himi, and I am super, super, super excited about it. Couple of previews then as we head into the new week. We have got, as I've already mentioned, a show from the 15th of March, and that has got this card. So, and that's happened today. So we won't be reviewing it today because it hasn't gone up on Stardom World, but we will be reviewing it next week. 3-way, Yuna Mizumori, Momokogo, and Lady C. Singles match, Miyu Wamasaki versus Saki Kashima. We've then got a 6-woman tag, Utami, Sai Kamitani, and Azumi taking on Hazuki Koguma and Hanan. We've then got a rather interesting tag match. Mariah May and Mina Shirakawa versus Mayu Iwatani and Saya Ida. It's not a partnership we see very often. I'm quite excited by that. Meltia versus Maika and Mai Sakurai. We've then got the return of Konami, who is going to be teaming with the rest of God's Eye, taking on the Uedatai team of Momo Watanabe, Starlight Kid, Natsukatora, and Ruaka. And then in the main event, we've got a singles match, another stop on the Himika retirement road, Julia versus Himika. So obviously, aside from that main event, Matt, assuming it's a main event, what else stands out to you on that card?
The Mina and Mariah May versus Saya, Ida, and Mayu. That'll be fun. Yeah, Konami's return. That'll be good as well. See Konami and Momo throw down. But all in all, though, it looks like a pretty solid card.
I'm quite intrigued by Konami's return because obviously she makes an appearance every now and then, usually when Stardom are in Hiroshima, which is her hometown. But this show is in Takamatsu, which I don't know. Obviously, my Japanese geography is appalling, but I'd be interested to know why she's cropping up on that show. But anyway, we'll see. And then I just want to go through that Yamaguchi card again. I know there's a show on the 16th, and we'll be going through that next week. But the show from Yamaguchi, which of course is Mayu Iwatani's homecoming show, we've got the following card: three-way match. We've got Saya Ida versus Yuna Mizumori and Lady C. We've then got a tag match with Hanan and Momo Kogo taking on Momo Watanabe and Ruaka. 8-woman tag team match, the Queen's Quest team of Utami Azumi, Saya Kamitani, and Miyu Amasaki taking on the Cosmic Angels team of Tam Nakano, Natsupoi, Mina Shirakawa, and Mariah May. We have got an 8-woman tag in the semi-main with Konami making another appearance, with Julia May Sakurai, Maika, and Himika taking on Shuri, Konami, Mirai, and Amisori. And then finally, in our main event, the Mayu Iwatani homecoming match, we have got Mayu Iwatani, Hazuki, and Koguma taking on Natsuka Tora, Saki Kashima, and Starlight Kid. So we've got a few more Konami appearances. Is she one of the X's for the Cinderella tournament, Matt?
Ooh, that's a possibility, but I think they're just going to kind of give her a string of wins. And then when you're getting towards, as we're building towards the 5-star, you're going to need some more challengers for Julia. If you remember, I think it was like the last pay-per-view leading up towards a Dream Queendom where Julia decided, like, I'm going to take a German suplex on the top of my head from Konami. So I think that's what they're doing with Konami. I don't think she's going to be one of the X's. I hope I'm wrong on that one because I would love to see her in the Cinderella tournament. But I think they're just going to kind of give her some string of wins on these multi-person tag matches. And then late spring, early summer, I see her challenging Julia for the red belt.
Interesting. And that brings to an end this episode. How we've gone this long when we're only talking about 2 shows, I don't know, but we seem to be making a habit of this, don't we, Matt? Next week, we will be running through the shows from Takamatsu from Osaka Hall, from the ATC Hall in Osaka, the show from Yamaguchi on the 18th, and the show from Kyoto on the 19th, KBS Hall. I'm going to tell you now that there are 5 shows in between now and when we next record. The chances of us being able to do all 5 shows and preview New Blood Premium, which is on that Saturday, and preview the Cinderella tournament as well is quite slim. So please forgive us if we race through some of those smaller cards without the analytical eye we tend to provide. So we've got a lot to come next week. Obviously, next week we will be dropping our bracketology episode as soon as I've worked out a few kinks. The brackets will be up on our Patreon for you to join in. For everyone who is a patron, you only have to subscribe $1, and you can be a part of this competition too. In the meantime, guys, thank you so much for listening to our podcast. We truly do appreciate it. We couldn't do any of this without you. If you haven't already subscribed, go and check us out wherever you get your podcasts. We are quite literally everywhere. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, we would love a 5-star review. It takes 30 seconds, and I cannot quite explain to you or put into words just how much it helps the podcast out and how much it helps with our exposure to a new audience. You can talk to us on social media at the Stardom Cast. You can check out the website www.thestardomcast.com. If you aren't already a patron, consider looking at our Patreon. Obviously, we are completely revamping it on the 1st of May, and I can't wait to talk to you about that. But www.patreon.com/the Stardom Cast. To all of our patrons, thank you so much. You are all awesome. If you want to talk to me on Twitter, you can find me at @RealRobGoodwin. Matt, plug your socials, good sir, and then sign us off.
Yes, you can find me at Higher Ground Wrestling. I remember the name of the show. This weekend, Mayfield, Pennsylvania. If you're going, drop me a line. If you don't want to drop me a line, or if you just stop by my merch table, tell me you're a fan of the show. I will give you some Stardom Cast stickers, and we can take a picture and send it to Rob at like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock our time, which would be 3 o'clock Rob's time. So that'd be a nice thing for him to wake up to.
Absolutely.
That first thing on Sunday morning. Maybe we'll flip him the double bird. No, I don't know. I don't know for that. We'll see. But yeah, if you're going to be at the show, please stop by and just say hello. It'd be nice to meet y'all. But yes, if you want to get a hold of me on the social media, Matt Turner OF on Twitter and or the Instagram is the best way to get a hold of me. If you want to drop me an email, that is fine as well. The StardomCast22@gmail.com is the best way to get a hold of me via the email system. Once again, folks, we cannot say thank you so much for all the fantastic support we get, not only on a weekly basis, but a daily basis. There's not a day that goes by that we don't get some sort of positive feedback, and it really, really means the world to us. And like I said, any suggestions, comments, or anything that you think that we can do to make the show better, just let us know. You know how to get a hold of us. Because like I always say, it's just not my podcast. It's our podcast, because we're all in this together, and everybody's different. Everybody's special.